we saw Dylan Moses hit the sideline fence in the end zone. Nick Saban saying that they're going to fix that. Said that he had not even noticed that. Amazingly, he had not even noticed that being an issue until that play. Dylan Moses also saying, I think he was sending out some love to the gentleman that was hit, the security events person, because, hey, guys, if that security person had not been there, we're probably looking at Dylan Moses being carried off with some type of neck injury, because when he hit his legs, it raised his head up, or he would have hit it probably head on with the crown of his head, and that was a lot of force. So we're glad that's going to be changed and okay. But last time, bring in DC. DC, welcome into the Blitz. How you doing, man?
Oh, doing great, Martin. How are you this morning?
Doing great. Hey, did you see that Dylan Moses hit into the wall, and what was your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I did see it. It actually happened on the side, which I happened to sit on, and I had a pretty good view of it. I first thought that he was injured pretty bad, but that is a very close end. Actually, both ends are close. I was concerned at first, and then when I saw the replays, you're exactly right. If that security guard wasn't in the place he was in, I think it could have been a whole lot worse. And I'm glad they're both okay.
I'm glad they're both okay, but Dylan grabbed that back, man, as soon as he hit, and I thought, oh, no. Then I saw his legs moving, and I said, well, it could still be serious, but he still has his movement. So glad that all worked out. Alabama takes down yet another SEC opponent, and yet another foe falls in the wake of this Alabama offense, and I think the defense is playing pretty good. They give up some junk points late, but 45? I'm not 52, but 45-23, almost doubling up the Aggies. What's your overall thoughts on Alabama's second SEC victory?
Yeah, I thought Texas A&M by far was the best opponent we played so far. I thought they were ready for the game. I expected a little more from them the way they played against Clemson, but Alabama seems to expose teams when they come in for what they really are, and I think Texas A&M is a young team. They're buying into the process that Jimbo Fisher is putting in over there. But Alabama just showed again how skilled they were in a lot of positions. I mean, you can't hide the recruiting that's gone on that Coach Saban has been able to do, and the others there at Alabama. We've got some very skilled players in positions, and it doesn't seem to matter whether they're freshmen or whether they're sophomores or whatnot, because they just seem to really buy into the process and do their job. It just shows how their greatness comes out on the field, and I think you saw that Saturday in a lot of players. And I watched a lot of different parts of the game. I love to watch the line and watch both offensive and defensive lines. That defensive line of Clemson, of Texas A&M is no joke against Clemson. They got a great push, and I think Clemson has a pretty good team this year. But Alabama's offensive line held their own against Texas A&M, and that was what I was watching going in. One of the things I mentioned on your show last week to watch was Quinn Williams against their center, and boy, he had a whale of a game. Quinn Williams did, and that allowed Isaiah Buggs on that other side, because there was somebody having to help the center almost every play. If you kind of go back and watch that,
yes,
Isaiah Buggs took advantage of that and had probably a monster game for him. So I was very pleased with the defensive effort, and I was definitely pleased with the offensive effort in the game. So I think overall it was a really good game for Alabama. We'll see as competition gets greater on in the year how we use these games like that to get better. And I think that's what the goal is each day. Each day get better, each game get better.
Yeah, speaking of Quinn Williams, and we'll stay on the defensive side of the ball for a little bit. Some people see stats. Some people watch football. I don't want to put too much pressure on him. Quinn Williams is one of the most disruptive forces I've seen in that offensive line in the interior. I don't know. I mean, we it's almost like we're afraid to say it, because I know I am. To me, he's playing at a higher level than Deron Payne did, but I know he hadn't played the competition yet. But this guy, you have to double team him, or it's is pressure, changing the direction of the running back. He is in the backfield. He's high energy. I mean, he is everything, and he's as disruptive as any defensive lineman Nick Saban has had. Not stats-wise, but just disruptive about what he wants to do in the backfield. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to me.
I agree with you, Martin. I mean, he has been one of my favorite players this whole year. You can't fault him for the competition. You can only play against who they put in front of you, and he has dominated everybody they put in front of him. I think he is the epitome of Coach Saban's process. Play your position, do your job, and do it to the best of your ability against what your standard is, not who you're playing in front of you.
Right.
And he has done that in this game. And I look at defensive linemen. Stats are one thing. It's great to get a sack when you get it, but how do you affect the game and the players around you? I mean, Quinion Williams has affected the players around him just by. We're not talking about Raekwon Davis as much as we were last year. Does that mean he's not as great a player? I think what you're seeing is that Quinion Williams has raised the standard of defensive lineman there, and he affected the players around him. Isaiah Buggs has stepped his game up and playing well. I think we'll see the same thing from Raekwon Davis. But, it showed out on Sunday in the NFL. If you look at the game that Deron Payne had for the Washington Redskins, it caused Jonathan Allen to have his best career game because of those two playing together and how Deron Payne was able to occupy and affect the line of scrimmage. Quinion Williams is doing the exact same thing. And before the end of this year, I think we're going to say that he might even be doing a better job than Deron Payne. And that's not a knock against Deron Payne.
That's right.
Saying, hey, how great Quinion Williams really is.
Yeah. And it is, what flashed in my head when I watched him Saturday, and Oliver from Houston is what I saw in him. A guy who is athletic, strong, not as big as that typical position there, but so strong and so athletic that it's giving those big hog mollies on the other side of the ball. Fitz trying to block him and stay with him because of his hands and his feet. So we'll watch him, and hopefully someone said, Robert Saucier saying Payne came on like that at the end. He hopes Quinion is not wearing himself out. I hope he isn't either. Unfortunately, we're not having to play so deep every game, so hopefully he'll still be fresh. Moving on.
Well, I don't think he's wearing himself out, and I go a little bit old school. I think of Warren Sapp every time I see him.
Okay.
He affects and disrupts the line of scrimmage just like Warren Sapp did, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was more along. Totally, God, I forgot about Warren Sapp, but I was just talking about more from the athletic-looking, smaller. You put a number 10 on Quinion Williams, he probably looks a lot like Oliver out there at Houston. Warren was nasty, but he was a little hog molly too. I'm just hey, we're speaking with DC Capstone Report. DC, we're talking about that defense. We'll talk about that. Then coming out of the break, we'll flip to the other side. But Patrick Surtain inserting himself into the starting lineup. Is that more about just how much he's progressed, or is that Savion not being able to do the job? Or has Alabama just got three, number one corners, and he just happens to be one of the best of the three?
Well, I think it's a combination of two of the things. I think Alabama's got three good cornerbacks, and he's the best of the three. Coach Saban's always said, "Going to put your best, trying to get your best on the field." I think it's also a part of his progressing. And I if you remember correctly on your show, I think early on we were talking about pre-football in the training camp.
Right.
What I was hearing out of the training camp was that Savion Smith is good, but Patrick Surtain is really showing signs of greatness, and he's really living up his 5-star moniker. And not only that, but not only does he have the skills, but he bought into the process. I think I told you then it was part of his culture. His father placed him in camps. We'd taken instructions. He was good with structure. And he's caught on to the process there, and I think it's really showing by him being able to play. And the kid has skills. I mean, he has some great skills, some great speed, great hand placement. I think he can play the ball well. So I think he's really done a good job. He was one of our listen to the podcast, which is up now. He was one of our standout defensive players of the game, just by the way he played in the defensive backfield. Not only when he was targeted with the ball, but I watched him watching that back end some. He man, had his man covered even when the ball never went close to his side. He was stuck close on every play. Hardly ever missed out on and got beat on any play. So I think it's his consistency that's caused him to get on the field, and getting on the field is, he's showing how great of a player he really is.
All right, we're back with DC. DC, we got a comment and see what you think here from Larry Wright. He says, hopefully Damian Harris will get more opportunities, but our offense now is so diverse and not one-dimensional anymore. I actually disagree with that statement. Our offense has the potential to be more diverse, but our offense through 4 games has been very one-dimensional, and that's not all bad. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's the way it is. My biggest question to you, DC, is the running game what it is based on the ability of our offensive line to produce and block, or is it just a result of you having such a dynamic passing game, your number of plays per drive are cut down, and the number of opportunities are cut down because you're throwing more passes, and that's what the defense is giving you?
Well, I think it's a lot more to do with the last statement. I think Coach Saban's his MO forever has always been take what the defense gives you, and I believe in these games that we've had, the defenses have been giving us the pass. And in the past, that would be a bad thing against Alabama because it would slow us down because we couldn't run the ball. But this year, I don't think any defense can just take away the run and expect us not to advance the ball because we're doing such a good job of passing. So, a lot of this is new, plowing new ground for Alabama. We've never been a passing offense. This year, we are a passing offense. So, I think everybody's looking at what's wrong with our running game, and I don't think there's anything wrong with our running game. It's a lot right with our passing.
DC, I'm sorry.
It has caused us to be a little one-dimensional. We're more passing than we are running at this point, so I don't see it. We're as diverse as we need to be, but I think that'll come as the year progresses.
DC, my biggest concern is I'm not worried about the number of carries being one-dimensional in terms of it is what it is. We had 45 points on 61 plays. They had 70-something plays and had 23. So you can't your offense is more than efficient. But my concern is the number of times we get 0 to minus yards. That's the way I judge a running game, whether it's effective or not the total stats, because the total stats, if you take away Damian Harris's one long run, 2 of our 3 running backs had 12 carries for like 20-something yards, and Najee only had his yards when we were running out the clock. That's what my concern is that at no point in that game when we tried to run the ball did we have any success with the exception of really late in one other play. That's what my concern is with the running game. And if you keep getting the team in 3rd and 9, you'll take those chances if you have some back help in the secondary. What are your thoughts?
I agree somewhat with that, but I think you got to look at this year as a different year than normal. I would agree with you that if our game plan was to run the ball to set up the pass, and we were in 3rd and 9, then we were in puts us in a little trouble. I don't think that's our game plan this year. I think this year, taking what they're giving us, we're using the pass to set up the run. And I want to focus on a couple of things that maybe your listeners hadn't thought about, but sometimes when you're doing that, when you're using the pass to set up the run, and Tua's doing such a great job of passing, and we're running when we are running plays. We're not really running dedicated running plays. If you watch the run, we're running for the option, which is either a run pass or run pass option, and I don't think that we've actually put our running backs in a mode of, hey, this series we're going to run the ball, and our linemen in a mode of we're going to run the ball. I don't think we've seen that yet. We haven't had to do that, so I don't think we hadn't seen that yet. Now we may have to do that in the future. So I think when you're in a game and your scheme is to pass the ball and then run the ball off the pass, the running lanes aren't as open as you are when you're in a mode of, hey, we're going to run the ball and we're going to play action pass off the run. It's a completely different scheme. So I think Alabama is something totally different than they've ever have been.
My biggest concern is just like we had Ridley last year cutting a fool out there because he wasn't getting the pass game, you better hold on to those running backs. You might want to feed the beast. I think that's what we'll do against Lafayette. I just know that if I was a running back, that I would be going like, okay, now we need to give us a little love. I'm just throwing out there what's going on that because there's nothing that I've seen that can slow this team down other than this team itself. And so I know Damian Harris, I didn't see it. Several people have told me that there was some frustration coming, and that's because I think he was getting hit in the backfield. Not because of the number of carries, but just the inept, just losing yards, getting hit at the line, not getting going. And as a running back, that's like the worst, regardless of how many times you carry it, if you get hit every time. So
well, his frustration, though, Martin, I don't want anybody to think that he was frustrated because he wasn't getting the ball.
Right.
His frustration came from, and I've said this before, and I don't know, everybody doesn't want to catch up on this and kind of run with it because we don't want to say anything that's negative. But, I think if anything that Tua can improve on, it's when he's doing his read. He did not read the play correct. And Damian Harris is saying, hey, I read the play. Why did you hand me the ball? That's his frustration.
Yeah, well, that's and like I said, Saban told us to talk about things that could improve, and that is one that happened several times where Tua pulled it, and the read was give, and we don't notice it as much as like when like Jalen last year would pull it and run it. And so it'd be obvious, like, well, why didn't you give it to that guy? But Tua's pulling it and passing it and may still complete it. But anyway, I agree with you that that's the one area that I think Tua's game can improve is when he gives it to those backs. And that's just an opportunity that everyone – only reason I'm bringing this up is we all thought that the running game would become much more explosive, DC, with Tua at quarterback. And it may down the road – if we don't abandon our strategy. I think it's going to – because you're going to get tired of picking the poison of Tua eating you alive, and I think that's going to open up the running game down the stretch.
I agree with you 100%.
All right. Hey, we got another game coming up, DC, this week. Kind of what's your thoughts on what Alabama is going to do? What's Nick Saban's game plan and purpose going into this week?
Well, I think his purpose is to try to get better, try to clean up some of the mistakes we made on penalties. I think we've had too many penalties that caused us to not do well in our return game with the blocks in the back, some mental errors, and jumping off sides, illegal procedures, moving before the ball snapped, getting 12 men on the field. All those things need to be cleaned up, I think, going in this game. I do think we'll see the running game more in this game just because I believe Coach Saban's not going to want to run the score up on one of his disciples, one of his coaching disciples. I really believe that at that level, Billy Napier is building a great team there. If you go online and look at Louisiana Lafayette, I was doing some research yesterday and looking online. You look at their website, you're going to say, I've seen that website before. It's the same website that Alabama football has. Hey, their process is the same. So he's really doing a clone down there in Louisiana of what Alabama's on a different scale down there. So I don't think you're going to see – I think you're going to see more running in this game. I don't think he's going to want to run the score up, but he may not be able to keep the score really low in this game. So I think you're going to see more emphasis on the run in this game. And I believe that this is a chance to get better, to do the thing that Coach Saban says, not competing against the other team. You're competing against the standard you've set for yourself. And can Alabama come back out and maintain their level of excellence against Louisiana Lafayette and have a good game against them? I think that's what he's looking for the team to do. And I think he's also used this week. We're in the middle of the season. We've had some bumps and bruises. He wants the people to get well. So I think he's used this week to do that as well. So I think coming out of this game with people recovering, with playing a good game, cleaning up some of the mistakes, I think he would like, if we had to punt the ball, he'd like to see the punt go more than 34 yards. I think he'd like to see that happen in this game. So I think punting is going to be, something we want to see an improvement on in this game.
The problem is we need to work on the punting game, but we may not get the opportunity to very much. So I think we've only had 15, and half of those were in this last game. So just a couple of rapid fire questions for you, DC. Tight end Loxley and Hale Hinges and how he's using those guys in the passing game.
I think Loxley's doing a great job. I highlighted on our podcast this week. Loxley, but I think you're seeing the influence of Jeff Banks there as well. He's working with the tight end. I think he's done a great job of getting them in the flow of the offense. Irv Smith, Hale Hinge has done a really good job. So I'm very excited about what we're doing. We've talked a lot about Dable using tight ends. Mike Loxley's actually done the best job of using tight ends.
Absolutely, he's done an unbelievable job with that. And one last question for you. Sorry, when you look at Alabama's defense and the linebacker play, quick assessment of that, and then tell our listeners where they can find out more about your podcast.
Well, I think Mac Wilson and Dylan Moses, middle linebackers, have done a great job. I think after that, we're suspect that our backups hadn't had a chance to play as much. Didn't get a chance to play that much in Texas A&M game, but I think we got two of the best inside linebackers in the SEC. I think our outside linebackers have played well. I don't think they've been exceedingly great as I thought they would be. I thought they'd be better rushing the edge, but I like what Anthony Jennings and Christian Miller is doing. Mosley, their backup, and Nabi Anoma has done really good on his speed rushes when he comes in. So I think the overall the linebacker plays. Well, you can catch us out there. Our podcast is up. You can catch us at dccapstonereport.com. You can like our Facebook page, DC Capstone Report Facebook page. You can also check out our sites at freelancepictures.com or rolltidebama.com. Lance Shores does a great job at every game taking some wonderful shots, and he has great pictures up there. If you're in the $1 million band or cheerleader or in the football team, he's got pictures up that you would love to take a look at there at freelancepictures.com.
All right, that's DC the Capstone Report. DC and the Capstone Report. DCCapstone.com is where you can find that podcast. It goes up every Monday afternoon. Share it with your friends. Tell them about it, and tell them they can hear him live also right here on the Blitz. Thanks, DC. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks, Ron. Have a great day.